Today we will talk about shear force and bending moment. Now, as per SOLAS, we can load or discharge cargo provided our SFM should be less than 100%. Now, is this for an old ship or a new ship? The answer is for an old ship. For example, SFBM is calculated for a ship which has a thickness of plating X, let's say X millimeters, whereas when the same ship is new, its thickness is 1.5 times X. That means if SFBM is calculated for a thickness of plating, let's say 10 millimeters, so when this ship is new, the thickness of the plating will be 1.5, that is 15 mm. Now, as a ship becomes old, the thickness of plating keeps reducing. So even when this new ship, which has a thickness of plating 15 mm, when its thickness comes to even 10 mm, the SFBM, which you have to maintain all the time, should be less than 100%. So the thickest plate on the ship is the keel plate. If you see the side view of the ship, midship, this will be the keel plate. So if this is your keel plate, let's say thickness 25 mm, and then the plating which is adjacent to that becomes little bit less, 24, like this plating, and then as it goes to the side, it becomes still less, let's say 20, and as the plating goes up, ship side, it becomes still less. It might come to 15 and this might come to 10 and like this. So I've just taken the average of 10, average of all. So SFBM is made for a ship which is 1.5 times. So that means the new ship is more safer because it has a larger thickness of plating, and it also means that your SFBM for a new ship you can load even exceeding 100% or 120 or 130%. But as per SOLAS, it is not allowed. Only up to 100% is allowed, whether the ship is old or new. Now let's do another topic about precautions to take when you are at a long anchorage. Now, when the ship is at a long anchorage, there are certain companies which have their own policies. For example, long anchorage would mean more than 10 or 15 days, depending on your company policy. So, some companies have this policy, for example, that you must heave anchor every 10 to 15 days, and because there is a slight chance that the anchor may get stuck. If this is your seabed, you have anchor. The anchor may get stuck in the seabed if it is a long anchorage. But normally this does not happen. So most companies do not have this policy of heaving the anchor. Then some companies also have a policy that you heave anchor and run the main engine for full speed for about 15 minutes and then re-anchor. And this is for testing the main engine at full speed. But again, most companies do not have this policy. At the most, they want the main engine to be tested at anchor for about 5 seconds in dead slow speed. Normal testing of anchor. The third type of policy which some companies have is again to heave anchor, run main engine full speed to reduce the marine growth. Now, the marine growth are the barnacles or algae which is sticking on the side of the ship. Now the marine growth which has which is an old one, like more than 1 month, 2 months old, that will not get removed even if you run the engine at full speed. But the marine growth which has formed in the last 10-15 days, some of it might get removed. And so most companies still do not follow this policy. Now for marine growth formation, if you take the side view of the ship, maximum marine growth will grow if you have these two conditions at the same time. One is stagnant water, that means minimum current, and the other is warm sea temperature. Now, minimum current would mean ideal condition. If you have lesser current, you get more marine growth, and the warmer is the sea temperature, you get more marine growth. Warm sea temperature might be 25 to 30 degrees. Minimum current could be ideal condition 0 current. Now what is the problem with marine growth is it increases the weight of the ship. So your draft increases and then you might load less cargo. So this is one problem. And there is another two problems of marine growth. The second is you get less speed when the ship sails and slightly more fuel consumption. These are the problems of marine growth. Now the fourth company policies are some companies that heave the anchor to see if there is a knot. If you have a knot, you can try to clear it. Now how does this knot happen? I'll just show you here. The anchor chain becomes fouled with the anchor, or it gets fouled with itself. It might get, you might get a knot here when you are heaving the anchor, or it might be fouled with the anchor itself. Now why does this happen is, if you have two conditions, you might get a knot, but the chances of getting a knot is very small. The first is that ship should swing 360 degrees so that a loop gets formed. Now, and the second is the current should be sometimes every 6 hours or so, it should be minimum, or let's say 0. If we have both these conditions, the ship starts swinging. This is your anchor here. The ship starts swinging like this and then comes here and then here. So what happens here is the anchor chain becomes slack. So you get the ship something like this, like cable almost up and down. And then as the ship swings like this 360 degrees, you get a loop, and then a second loop forms on top of it. When you heave, the first loop might get heaved first before the second the loop on top, and you might get a knot like this or like this. So this is about long anchorage.